when you figure out what you're really after and you get that clear vision for it, anything you're after is possible within 5 years.
Yep.
There's a 5-year goal. I went from borrowing money from my parents to pay for my mortgage in 4.5 years, having a net worth of $1 million. Had a vision, had the right support and encouragement around me, got on a path and was committed to that path, and have been blessed by it.
Wow, guys, this was a cool episode. It was with my friend Christian Scott of Keller Williams. Very interesting journey that he's had. He was working in healthcare for a number of years, close to a decade, I believe. Then he was a pastor for about 5 years, and now he's transitioned to having a very successful real estate and investing career. The investing piece is super interesting. You'll enjoy that. Shows you that your plan can change along the way and still be filled with success and happiness. Enjoy the show. It's a good one.
The mic drop.
Subscribe to success.
All right, guys, here we are on another episode of The Mic Drop, powered by Premier Mortgage Lending. We've got my friend Christian Scott on today. Welcome, Christian.
Thank you so much, my friend. Glad to be here.
Absolutely.
This is exciting.
This is going to be, I think, the reason I wanted to have you on is because, one, you're a real estate agent. Great. That's how we met each other.
Exactly.
But way more than that. We had a couple conversations, and I thought everything you do, everything you've done is super interesting.
Thank you so much.
And, I think it's awesome for people to be able to get to understand, different aspects of business and life and kind of just see what's possible. That's kind of the premise of this this whole podcast.
And that's it. The abundance thinking,
yes.
The abundance mentality over scarcity, anything becomes possible.
It as long as you think it is.
Right. Right.
And
get that vision in your mind.
That's it.
And let it build from there.
Totally. You got to have the vision first.
Yeah.
Right? And you got to see yourself succeeding and in accomplishing what you want the end goal to be.
Yes.
And then just start taking steps. That's it.
Yep.
Why don't you start just by kind of telling us about yourself, where you're from, where you grew up.
Yeah, sure.
To be where we're at today.
Grew up in Chester, New Hampshire, then made the whopping 8-mile move to Auburn about 14 years ago.
Yep.
Love it there. Married to my high school sweetheart, Anna.
Awesome.
Yeah, 2 kids. Enzo is going to be 16 this month, and Zophia's 10 and a half.
Nice.
So we're doing the driver's ed thing. Yep. That's a lot of fun.
Yep.
Went to UNH, business administration with a minor in economics, did the corporate thing for about 15 years. Got called into vocational ministry, so worked as a campus pastor at Manchester Christian Church for 4 years. Took a year of joblessness, which was horrible.
Yeah,
that's a whole nother episode probably. And then found my way into real estate and landed at Keller Williams and turned my life around.
Yeah. Let's take it back, right? Let's take it back. So you went to UNH.
Yep.
Bachelor's in Business Administration, was
Yep.
it? Right. And then you went to school after that too, right? You got your master's?
Yeah, I ended up getting my master's through Southern New Hampshire. Again, I never went very far. So I've got a master's in organizational leadership.
Awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you were in healthcare for a while?
Yeah, 11 years with Anthem Blue Cross Blue Shield.
Yeah. What were you doing then?
Started in customer service and eventually made my way into contract management. So I was handling the DME and ambulance providers for Maine, New Hampshire, and Connecticut.
What made you leave that business? Was it to go into the ministry?
It was to go into ministry.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Just had a calling on my heart that the church was expanding, and that was my opportunity to continue to love on people and to apply what I had learned in business school in that setting.
I love it. Okay, because I think that's someone really going for what they want to do and what you believe in and what you feel.
Yeah.
Which I think is super important. And so many people get away from that because they think what they should be doing, or I need to stay in this corporate job because of this, or I need to do that because of this.
And I wrestled with that.
Yeah, talk about that.
I definitely did. Because I was on a great path. I just finished my master's degree. My wife was assuming that I was going to keep climbing the corporate ladder, and we only had. Well, Zofia had just barely been born, so totally pivoted in a whole new direction that I had never planned on going into ministry. That wasn't the vision that I had for myself going into this.
Yeah.
And the opportunity came together, and it was exactly what I needed to be doing for that season of my life. And then when I moved into real estate, realized I had avoided sales most of my life, and then when I made the connection that all it is serving others, that just touched me. Like, I just need to serve. where do you want to use me, God?
Right.
And he said, over there.
You know, it's funny you say that you had avoided sales, right?
Yes.
And a lot of people think that sales, it sometimes can have like a negative connotation to it.
You've got the used car salesman
That's what I was going to say.
impression
It's a
that people
different
have.
type.
Yeah.
You know,
Yep.
I feel like I've never sold anything.
No, we're in the
career.
relationship business.
That's it.
That's what we do. We meet people, we build relationships, we serve others, we figure out how we can add value to other people's lives, like you're doing through the podcast. This is it. It's bringing value to others, and the more people we help achieve their dreams, the closer we get to our dreams.
And I think that's true for anything in life.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's the whole, you know, karma's a real thing.
No joke.
You know, I think did we talk about the book The Secret?
Yes, we did.
Yeah, I always talk about that.
Yep.
That's kind of like been my fallback for like the last 10 years.
Right.
If I need to like right the ship in my mind, I'll read that book again. You know, and it's essentially, you know, you're putting out good, positive vibes, good energy into the universe. It's the law of attraction. It's going to come back around.
Yeah.
You know, and what you said there a second ago is 100% true.
What we focus on expands.
Yep.
That's one of the mindset things that we talk about a lot in Keller Williams, and that very much has been the reality in life. When you focus on a goal, a number, whatever drives you and motivates you, it comes together.
Yeah, always.
Yep.
Always. So you were in the corporate world. You went into ministry.
Yes.
You were happy doing that for
Loved
4
it.
years. Loved it.
Thought I was going to do it for the rest of my life.
Now, what exactly were you doing at that time?
So I was a campus pastor at Manchester Christian Church over on Wellington Road in Manchester. As the campus pastor, my job was to take care of the people and our volunteers. And our senior pastor, Bo Chansey, did the preaching. He was great on stage. I was great behind the scenes, and we had this wonderful balance that was working very well for us. Had a great time. Still in touch with him on a regular basis.
I was going to say, you still at the church? Everything's still the same?
We've since moved on to a new church plant in Londonderry, Beacon Christian Church. My friend Calvin Daly started that. He first brought up the idea of Beacon Church to me when he and I were on a mission trip in Nicaragua about 2 years ago. Like, I love he has a vision for creating community. Okay. And really being embedded in the community, much like yourself, important. Just getting embedded in the community, in the organizations, in the causes, in the events. Yep. Really having a presence.
Well, that's how you can really help people.
Yes.
And it's fun.
Super fun.
You know, it's fun being part of the community, being in it, kind of knowing everything that's going on, so you can get involved in different charities and organizations and find out who's in need and kind of give like super local too. Yeah. Which is great.
Well, it was interesting. You mentioned that, you know, to kind of right your mental ship, you go back to that book. Whenever I find that I'm down, lose yourself in service to others. Yeah. And it especially when you're working with nonprofits, it keeps everything in perspective.
It does. It does, because it makes you the things that you might be, you know, kind of off about or having a hard time with. Yeah. You realize when you start working with people that really are in need. Yes. That okay, all right, my problems aren't problems right now. I thought
I thought I'd seen poverty, and then I went to Nicaragua.
Sure.
And that was a whole nother level set.
Yeah. What did you do in Nicaragua? Talk about that.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. So we support an organization called Reap Granada. My friends Scott and Jen Esposito. We did everything from prayer walks to we were building a community center, which meant I learned how to bend rebar, and they don't have concrete, cement mixer, pumpers, whatever. Yeah. So it was mix it by hand, throw it in a bucket, hike up the stairs, then climb up the ladder and hand it to the guy at the top of the form and pour it in.
That was how you poured a foundation?
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, that was the second story walls that we were doing.
Wow. How long would it take to do the foundation of the walls of the building?
It was several weeks. We were there for a week, but we spent a day bending rebar and then a day doing that. There are people that literally trash pick at the dump to make a living, and we went there to feed them a meal and love on them and pray with them, and going on prayer walks into neighborhoods that, you know, we think there are sketchy pieces of or sketchy areas in like the west side of Manchester. Sure. Yeah, the west side seemed very safe after some of the things that you see.
I bet. What's a prayer walk?
We would walk through the neighborhoods, and there are a lot of people that are outside, and we just stop and chat with them, share Jesus. Yeah. You know, what do you know about Jesus? What we had interpreters with us. Probably the funnest one that we went into. 3 generations of a family living together. The grandmother was standing there reading her Bible when we walked in. I said, okay, clearly this is this is where we're supposed to be.
Yeah, we're on. We got someone.
Yeah. So my buddy Mark jumps into conversation with her, and now keep in mind these are cement, like cinder block buildings, dirt floors, tin roof, and there's little kids there, and I decide, well, Mark's got that covered. I'm going to go play with the kids.
Yeah.
So I'm on the dirt floor playing with these little kids so that mom and grandma can be focused on the gospel.
Yeah.
It was incredible.
Yeah, it must have been. That's awesome. So you're down there for a week doing that?
Yeah. Yep.
Now, is that the only one of those trips you've been on, or have you done that multiple times?
So I did a domestic trip about 9 years ago after it was a disaster relief trip. After tornadoes in Oklahoma City, we went down to help with the cleanup for that.
Yep. And same idea?
Yeah.
Just helping and...
It was phenomenal. You go expecting that it's just going to be manual labor, and that's how they got me roped into the Nicaragua trip is, hey, we're going on a construction trip. Want to come? I'm like, yeah, let's go build stuff.
Yeah, sure.
Right? So Oklahoma, about halfway through the week, one of the houses that we got to that the tornado literally had lifted the roof off, and then it just imploded on itself, devastated. And this boy is there with his sister. His sister was a high school senior, so she was about to go off to college. And I think he was turning 12 the day we were there. So we're kind of playing with him, and he was working alongside us. Great kid. We did as much work as we could at that, and then we went on to our next job site. Well, that wasn't ready for us yet. So they gave us another assignment. Well, that one wasn't ready. So I turned to my team and I'm like, we're going to throw a birthday party.
Nice.
So we went to Walmart, bought cake, ice cream, plates, some balloons, and we went back and just sat down and threw this impromptu birthday party with this little boy. And it was beautiful.
You gave more by doing that than you would have those other two jobs that you were going to get to. You know what I mean?
He's probably still talking about the crazy New Hampshire people with their orange T-shirts that threw him a birthday party.
Well, I mean, in the middle of all that devastation,
exactly.
Like children still deserve a birthday party.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do.
That's what they need. So that's great that you bring that to those communities. They're really in a rough situation.
It was, and when we can make someone's day a little bit brighter, whatever that means, holding a door, smiling at the clerk, leaving a good tip.
It's the little things that really, really matter.
I totally agree.
It's like I try to live my life that way, really, just because it's the right way to be.
Yeah.
Do the little things. Be nice to people. Like even when people talk about tipping, like you just said, right? I always think, and I say this all the time to my wife, I always leave like ridiculous tips. I do.
Yeah.
But I do it because I feel like I'm fortunate enough to be out to dinner.
Yes.
Where this person's working hard to serve us food, and it's a luxury that we have.
Yeah.
Therefore, I'm going to thank them by leaving them a good tip.
And it's getting even more difficult nowadays. For a while we went through a period where there were empty tables because of COVID, and we needed the social distancing. And now there's empty tables because there isn't enough wait staff.
Yep.
So when I get one, I am so grateful to be able to sit there and have that meal.
No, it's true. My wife and I went out to dinner last night, and I walked in because I had made a reservation. And I went in, I'm like, there's really not even anybody here.
Yeah.
And I was talking to the waitress, and that was exactly it. She said, no, we can't even fill up because we just don't have enough wait staff to, if the place was full, the service would be terrible and it would be bad, So, which is tough, and that's really the challenge all around right now. I actually spoke with someone earlier today, a mover that I know, and he's like, Mike, I can't get enough help.
No, you can't.
Now, what he's doing, which is kind of cool, again, another person who's grown his business the right way by doing the right thing. What he does, he goes, I've taken a lot of guys that have, either been in like rough situations, have, a lot of people that have come out of like recovery, things like that. He goes, and I'm giving them jobs, He goes, I've got foremen to make sure that everything's good when they're moving and, you know what I mean, kind of help them out along the way, get them back on the right path. He goes, but, I couldn't find other people that have been in the business and knew what they were doing. He goes, I figured, where else can I get these guys that need some help? He goes, and I'm still paying them well. I'm paying them $20 an hour.
And they're so thankful for the opportunity.
Yeah,
they're going to work harder than anyone else for it because they know that they don't have a lot of choices.
Yeah. So it's a win for everybody.
Completely.
But it's by doing the right thing.
And that's so important when you look for the win-win scenarios in everything we do, whether it's working with buyers and sellers, negotiating after home inspections, whatever it is, negotiating after appraisal.
Yeah, sure.
You guys deal with that too.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, even with that, right? So I want to talk about how you transitioned out of ministry into real estate. How did that go about?
So, like I said, I'd been unemployed for about a year. Was really battling depression.
Okay.
Was a really dark spot in my life.
Honesty, right?
Reached out to a buddy of mine that I had known for 20 years and said, "Hey, how are things going?" He was telling me how wonderful things were at Keller Williams, and he was part of a team. He's like, "How are you doing?" I said, "I've had some great interviews and nothing's coming together."
Yeah.
He said, "Well, we're gonna have breakfast together tomorrow morning." I said, "Sure."
Yeah.
So we go meet for breakfast. The third sentence out of his mouth was, "You're going to make a great realtor."
Yeah.
I looked at him like, "Fred, what are you talking about?" He said, as soon as I told Mona, his wife, that we were having breakfast, she said, "Christian's going to be an amazing realtor." I didn't have any other options at that point. Talked to my wife, talked to my parents, looked into what pre-licensing looked like. Less than 3 months later, I was licensed.
Nothing to lose, right?
Well, that's it. It was plan A. There was no plan B. Fully committed.
Yeah. Let me, now, not to get too into your personal
No, jump right
situation,
in.
but you said you were
Open
you're suffering depression, having a hard
Yep.
time, right? Was that related to you not being able to find a job and get back into the workforce, or was...
No, a lot of it was
is
the
it
fact
separate
that
from-
once I got into ministry
Yeah.
and realized that my calling is as a pastor, that became my identity.
Yep.
So when your identity is tied to your job, your vocation,
Yep.
and you lose that vocation, you lose your identity.
100%.
And so it was just struggling to figure out who am I,
Mm-hmm.
what am I doing next? Even though God had been incredibly clear to me that you're a pastor because that's who you are. I'm just taking you out of this setting. I'm going to put you in a different setting.
Yep.
I wanted him to put me in a different setting faster.
Right.
Right? Yet, as always, his perfect timing, I land in real estate, sold for 14 or 15 months, got to a really great place, had an opportunity to go on staff,
Yep.
was on staff for 2 years until COVID hit.
You were essentially talent acquisition, right?
Yeah, exactly,
Okay.
exactly.
Now, I was just going to go with that a second ago. I had a thought.
It's going to come to you. Here it
It
comes.
will in a minute. So you were selling before you went into the talent acquisition.
Yep,
role.
yep,
Okay.
yep. And then when my position was eliminated, I switched market centers, landed at Keller Williams Coastal Lakes and Mountains.
Yep.
Was surrounded by people that were big thinkers.
Right.
Combine my local sphere of influence and my local support system there. When COVID started, my friend James Shaw started a daily Zoom call for realtors.
Yep.
Well, it started out as realtors, and we thought that was when we all thought this is going to be 2 weeks of sitting at home with our kids.
Yeah.
20 months later. So he started this Zoom call working through a book called Shift. It's how to adapt your business in a shifting market.
Okay.
Turns into thousands of agents on this daily Zoom. So right now, there's about 500 of us on any given day, not counting whoever's watching the recording.
Right.
They became my community. And for years, I had questioned, how do you build corporate culture remotely? The remote workforce was a challenge for me to embrace. Once I realized that as long as you're doing life together regularly, it just comes together.
Yeah.
So I mean, this group, we cry together, we pray together, we celebrate together. We celebrate successes when agents hit that millionaire real estate agent mark. We cry with people who have lost their spouses and their siblings. But the support goes beyond that. It's not just the morning calls. It's the, hey, Bree's on my mind, I better call Bree.
Right.
And the random cards that you get. I
Well, it's nice
got
being part of
birthday
any
cards from people
community.
that I've never met in person.
Right.
That was crazy.
Yeah, no, that's nice though. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And that shows that I remember what I was going to say before.
Yeah.
And we'll come back to it, but it was about the identity piece that you said.
Sure.
So I want to talk about that. But no, it's great being a part of any community,
Yes,
no
it
matter
is.
what it is, whether it was your church community or this community on the morning calls.
Yeah.
And because everybody needs other people.
Yes, we do.
And especially where like we were talking about going remote. That's when a lot of people were, again, bring up depression and
Yes.
mental illness, things like that, and things that people are having a hard time with. And, being alone is not good for anybody.
No.
It's not good for anybody.
No.
And that was why I was saying for a while, even with the children, it's like, we got to get these kids back out into
Yes.
school.
I mean, and you and I are blessed with amazing families.
Yes, absolutely.
Supportive wives,
Yep.
great kids. And still, there is more to life than that.
Yes.
We have more to offer than just what we can pour into our families. And don't get me wrong, we've got to pour into our families first.
Yep.
Part of what really connected me with Keller Williams is the value system of God, family, then business.
Mm-hmm.
So get your spiritual life in order, get your family life in order, And then business is going to be fine after that.
Right.
And so keeping that focus on our families and understanding that in that initial time frame, kind of need to step back from business a little bit and make sure that I was serving as a good homeschool teacher.
Yeah. How long were your kids home for?
They were home for the first 4 months, and then
so the end of that school year.
Yeah, and then the hybrid model going into the next year.
Yeah, we did the same. I think they were out the remainder
of the year. Yeah,
and then my littlest guy, so that was last school year.
Right.
He was in second grade.
Okay.
He was every other day. No, he was every day. He was in school every day. My third grader was every other day, and my high schooler had some bizarre schedule. But it was tough.
Yeah.
It was tough for everybody. What I was talking about the identity piece, right?
Yeah.
Is everybody you need to be careful with that, right? Because some people see themselves as either, just your career, just being a minister, just being a dad, just being a friend, have all their identity eggs in one basket.
Right.
And you can't, because there's more to life than that.
Yeah. Yes.
And if one thing, falters, whether it's a job or whatever, your kids grow up. Right. That's going to happen.
It will.
You know what I mean?
Hopefully they grow up to be successful, productive members of society. That's what we're shooting for. Yet still releasing them.
Yeah.
Proud of my son and love to see where he's going and how he's growing. And at the same time, you still just want to hold on to him.
Yeah,
right?
You do. And I've heard people say, you just don't want him to grow up. You just don't want him to grow up. And it's like, I don't really feel that way, right?
It's our job to help them grow up.
Right. I want to help them grow and succeed. Yeah. I want to see them be successful people.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And I'm not saying success in financially or business or work. I mean,
however they
life,
define it.
Life success,
right.
And I think that journey of helping them grow and supporting them is, that's the best part about it.
It is.
It really is. And that's part of my identity now, as is running this company part of my identity. But people have to always be open to the idea of, like you were saying, shifting, right? Mm-hmm. Whether it's a shifting market or whatever it is, life is shifting all the time.
Yes, it is.
So we have to be ready to pivot and make adjustments when need be.
Yes.
And I feel like those are the people I read a lot of books and podcasts and talk to a lot of people like yourself.
Sure.
People end up being the most successful when they're able to pivot.
Yes. Yep. I had a manager years ago at Anthem, Ellen McCann, and her role changed every 2 years, and it was drastic changes. And she was the first person that I saw that was able to do that pivot.
Yeah.
That just said, "Oh, well, how do I apply my existing skills? What do I need to learn, and how do I become successful in the next role?" And that was kind of what inspired me to learn to be flexible.
Yeah. It sounds like that's what you've done. You know what I mean? You're talking about serving people and helping people, and you've done it in every different occupation or place you've been in your life.
Yep.
And now you're doing it in real estate, and you're doing very well.
I am.
And you love it?
Oh my gosh, having a blast.
Yeah. What do you do mostly? Right. So I know a lot of people say we work with sellers, we work with buyers, we do commercial. What's kind of your area of expertise?
Residential listings.
Okay.
That's primarily what I do. I do have several buyer clients.
Yep.
And now I'm bringing new agents in with me, so that as I have buyer clients that typically take more time, I have people that I can help them grow their businesses by sharing the business that I have.
But again, helping.
That's it.
Helping other people, and your business just grows in turn.
And having enough of a mindset, enough of an abundance mentality to realize that I've got more than enough. What can I share with someone else? How do I bring them along on the journey?
Yep.
It's not stepping over people. It's bringing them along with us.
Yeah.
Which is what you're creating with your teams here.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's even the abundance mindset in that way. Yeah, I've got enough, but what I always look at too is there is enough for everybody.
Completely is.
There is so much of everything in this world.
Yeah.
There's billions of people, right?
Yeah.
So, and I even look at it as you're talking about real estate or mortgages or whatever it may be. And I get all the numbers and stats. And I looked at it not too long ago, and there was something like 4,000 mortgage transactions that had closed in the state. This was earlier on in the year too. And so I said to the guys here, I'm like, guys, we've closed actually it was way more than that. I think it was 40,000. Because we had closed a tiny port, 500 or 600 of it, right?
Yeah.
So I'm like, keep that in mind. How much is out there?
Yes.
You know what I mean? How much is out there? You just got to go get it.
And that's it. You've got to have a goal that's big enough, and you've got to have a why behind that goal. Something that inspiring vision that's powering you to go get the bigger piece of the pie.
Yep. What's your why?
My why is actually based, my life mission it's based on Ephesians 2:10. Mm-hmm. I am God's workmanship, created in Christ Jesus to do good works that he prepared in advance for me to do. My goal every day is to go find what those good works are.
That's it, huh?
What does he have lined up for me? I needed to find something that was motivational enough to say that there's never going to be a finish line to it.
Yeah, I like that because there doesn't need to be a finish line.
No.
You know,
Otherwise,
it's really
then what do you do?
You know?
So here's a great case in point. When I was 10, I was in Buffalo, New York, in a parking lot, and I saw a Ferrari 308. Fell in love with it. Said, someday I want to do that. That became my goal. And of course, growing up in a very traditional family, the goal is also, you go to college, you get a degree, you get a good job, you get married, you buy a house. At 25, I was married to my high school sweetheart, driving a Ferrari 308, owned a house.
You got the Ferrari?
I did.
At 25?
I did.
Nice.
At 24.
Nice.
Before the wedding. Yeah.
That's awesome.
But at that point in life, I ran out of goals.
Right.
I had achieved everything I wanted and had forgotten how to dream. Mm-hmm. So it took a long time to get into that abundance mentality, to start dreaming again and say, well, what is possible? What can I create for myself and for my family and for the causes that I believe in? How do I give at a bigger level?
Yeah.
Well, to give at a bigger level, we need to be earning at a higher level.
Yep.
Right?
Yep. I think too, you always need to think really, really big. Like you said something before about big thinkers, right?
Yeah.
Folks that are around you.
Exactly.
Now, what I've found is if you think gigantic and you set gigantic goals, right, then it's going to be a real journey and trip to get there,
yes.
right? And then if you do, then if you hit that goal, fantastic. You have an incredible sense of accomplishment. But even if you don't, you will have accomplished way more than you would have by setting some
without
small
a goal.
goals.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
I was out at a meeting a couple weeks ago out in Detroit with a guy that owns the largest wholesale lender in the country. Right?
Okay.
They close like 75,000 loans a month. Right.
A month.
A month. Billions and billions and billions.
Sure.
They have 10,000 employees. When he took the company over from his dad 15 years ago, there was like 12 or 15 employees. Now he's got 10,000.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That's big. That's big thinking.
That's big thinking, right?
Yeah.
And this is my point here is one person in the seminar group that we were in said, is there anything that you would have changed along this journey over the last 15 years that got you to this point? He said, yes. He said, I wish I thought bigger earlier.
I love it.
I
love it.
And he's number one in the country. Do it like incredible.
There's no one else for him to beat.
$15 billion, you know what I mean? But he wished he thought bigger earlier, Well, and that's what everybody needs to do with anything.
But with goal setting, I think where a lot of us struggled early on is we had people that said, oh, have this giant goal. But it was so lofty. Like, how can I dream of being a millionaire when I'm struggling to pay my mortgage?
Right.
Like, how do you get there? And something that really helped me, a book called The One Thing, Gary Keller and Jay Papasan.
Okay.
And they talk about goal setting to the now. So, when you have that someday goal, well, what does that look like in 5 years? Where do I need to be on the path towards that someday goal? Okay, well, now let's get it down to 3 years. 1 year from now, where do I need to be? 6 months from now. And you just keep working it back to the present. And it boils down to the defining question of, what can I do such that by doing it, everything else, actually, what one thing can I do such that by doing it, everything else becomes easier or unnecessary?
Right.
What's the next right thing to do?
Yep. It's steps and then figuring out, because I always break down goals with everyone here too.
Yeah.
It's okay. You have, like you said, right? Say you want to, make $1 million. Make $1 million in 3 years. Well, in 2, maybe 750 and 5, and break it down, right? So you can get there. But then you got to say, okay, what are the activities that's going to take me to get there, right? Yep. And that's what I've always enjoyed about, growing my business and even things in life too. It's like, okay, what are the activities I need to do? Make it measurable, right?
Right.
On a monthly, weekly, daily basis.
Yeah.
And then it's almost like, okay, if I just do the things that I have to do, the results will come.
And as long as your motivation for that goal is big enough, you're going to do those daily things. Even when lead generation can become routine for people, so they stop doing it.
Yeah.
And their businesses crumble.
Yeah.
When you have that powerful why propelling you forward in life, you're going to keep getting up and doing the things that you need to do.
And what I found is it can't just be money.
No. Oh, my goodness, no.
Absolutely not. So many people think that.
Well, that's the idea that money is good for the good that money can do.
Yeah.
So, well, what is it?
I like that.
It's not
money is good for the good that money can do.
More Gary Keller.
Yeah, I like that. I hadn't heard that.
Yeah, and so for me, it's how do I give more money to Beacon Church?
Yep.
How do I give more money to Reap Granada? When we hear of fundraisers going on or a family in need, how do we make sure that we're positioned so that writing a $1,000 check there's no second thought to it?
So you can do it
we
happily.
need to. Yes.
Yeah.
That's it. And there is joy in giving.
Yep.
There
Absolutely.
definitely is.
It feels great.
Yeah.
It feels great in any way, whether it's financially or time or helping people.
Well, and that's a great point. That giving, it's time, treasure, and talents.
Yep.
I have time. Okay, let's go volunteer at the soup kitchen. I have talents, but I don't have well, let's get on a nonprofit board that can use your expertise to push them forward in business. Or I have treasure. Where can I donate that?
Yep.
It's so multifaceted.
Yeah, because most people don't have all of those things at the same time.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like right now, I don't have a ton of extra time. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So
yeah.
I'll contribute financially. I'm on a couple boards, so I can go there. That may be a couple nights, 2 nights a month. You know what I mean? And because I don't have time to go and physically, help as much as I would like to.
Yep.
So I'm going to go in the other direction. But everybody's going to keep that in mind. You don't have to have a ton of disposable income where you, to give away. Actually write checks.
Right.
But if you can go and lend a hand, help out, go to the soup kitchen. Last year before COVID, we went up to the New Hampshire Food Bank.
Yeah.
And we had the best day.
Amazing operation up there.
Anna, were you here then? No, that was before you started. Eddie, you were there. That was great. About 20 of us went up. And it was this time of year, too. It was almost 2 years ago because it was right before Thanksgiving.
Yep.
And we were there for, probably 3 hours, something like that. And we made Thanksgiving meals for
so much fun.
Hundreds of people. It was great. And we were all smiling, laughing, enjoying our time together because we were doing something positive and helping out.
We get out of our own way.
Yeah. And that again puts everything in perspective.
Yes.
Right? You walk out of like, wow, okay, there are hungry families out there that, need help from people like us, and it just feels good.
Well, so that's a friend of mine, Jess Starr, down in Simsbury, Connecticut, amazing woman. She and her team were doing similarly. They were preparing the Thanksgiving meals in a basket or a box or whatever it was. And then she said, hey, do these people have a way to cook these? And realized that they needed to include pots and pans in what they're doing.
Yep.
Right? So thinking that next level of giving. Well, hey, we were able to do this. What can we do next?
Yeah.
And it's great to give someone a turkey, but if they can't cook it,
what are they going to do with it?
Right?
That's a good point. That's a good point. Well, there's a lot of things like that where we almost sometimes we forget like the basic requirements that people have.
Yes.
There's an organization. It's a veterans organization, Homeland Heroes.
Yes.
That we've done quite a bit with. And that's essentially to give these men and women that are coming out of the military and just kind of starting their lives the basics, because we forget sometimes that they might not even have a mattress to sleep on or pots and pans or silverware.
They've lived in a barracks for the past 4 to 20
cases,
years.
15, 20 years,
Yeah.
And sometimes I think we all need to think even simpler than what we may think sometimes. That, some people just need the bare essentials, the basics, and let's get them that.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Because everybody deserves, an opportunity to kind of get going.
Yeah.
We just got to help people do that.
Yep.
Kind of transition a little bit.
Sure.
I want you to talk about that, your investments, the investing that you're doing, because I thought that was super interesting.
Yeah. So I've been listening to the podcast Bigger Pockets for years and heard about a strategy called syndication, which is pooling a bunch of investors together as limited partners, and then the general partners go out, find the deal, take the deal down. Together, we're doing larger deals than any of us would do individually.
Right.
Realized at that point, I had money to invest, but I didn't have the time. Time, treasure, talents. We're right back to that. I didn't have the time, nor did I have the desire to go learn how to put together a syndication and take down a multi-unit, multifamily deal. So listening to Bigger Pockets, happened to listen to Mark and Tammy Kenny from a group called Think Multifamily. And I loved their perspective of making it a family affair.
Yeah.
Their kids come along with what they're doing. Tammy has her specialties in the business. Mark has his specialties. So that's what I want to do. I want my investing to be, I want to create generational wealth, but generational knowledge too. Sharing what we know. Listened to everything they had produced. Took online classes that they were doing when COVID first started. Connected through them. Met Keely Hubbard and her dad Tracy, also syndicators. Got on to one of their projects, actually 2 of their projects now. So through Mark and Tammy, the people that I've met have led me to about 150 doors in Fort Smith, Arkansas, another 150 doors in Lubbock, Texas. Keely, we're partnered with her on over 300 acres just south of Lubbock, Texas. We're planting a vineyard.
Unbelievable.
Which is great. It's the first vineyard syndication ever. We have some phenomenal resources, some incredibly intelligent people. I know nothing about growing grapes. I mean, we're in New Hampshire.
Right.
I can grow hay and tomatoes. Like that's what I do.
Yeah.
Like that's all that I'm capable of. But leveraging these people, the returns available for syndications truly are passive income.
Yeah. So how does that work? So you've got like on each project, how many partners, investors are typically involved?
So most of the deals that I'm in, maximum 35 people involved in it.
Okay.
There are restrictions on how many non-accredited versus accredited investors can be a part of it. So an accredited investor would be someone with a net worth of $1 million or 2 years of $200,000 income.
Okay.
I definitely was not there when I started this.
Yeah.
So getting in with that, usually it's anywhere from $50,000 buy-in to $100,000 buy-in.
Okay.
And of course you can go up and beyond that.
Right.
A typical multifamily syndication is structured to give you quarterly payouts, a refi payout, and then selling the project at the end, so that in 5 years you've doubled your money.
That's what I was going to ask you. So
that's what we're looking at.
Your
So
returns come
20%. Yep. So overall, it's 20% annualized.
Okay.
Which when you can do a home equity loan or a cash out refi at 3% and go make 20% annualized without even factoring in inflation.
Right.
Like that's just straight numbers.
Yeah, just straight numbers. That's just
fantastic.
Smart.
Yeah.
Do it right. Borrow against your asset, throw it at that. And make triple more.
Exactly.
That's fantastic. So now how would somebody get involved in a project like that?
So there's a couple of ways. I mean, feel free to reach out to me, and I'd be glad to share my connections. Listening to Bigger Pockets, they have syndication operators on a regular basis. And the beautiful thing is at the end of the podcast, it's always how do people get in touch with you? And I'm that guy who, when I found someone that I liked, I called their number and said, I want to get in touch with you. How do we do this? Goodness, the first time Keely and I connected, we spent an hour on the phone. So now I'm in 3 syndications. I've never been to any of the properties.
I was going to ask you that. Do you have to do anything, or
Nope.
Once you contribute the funds?
I attend the monthly webinar that tells us the performance of the projects.
And that's it.
Yeah, I've never been to any of the projects. I've never met any of my partners in person. You were talking investments, so prior to getting into syndications, my wife and I bought a property in Marco Island, Florida. We bought a vacation house in Marco Island. I've never been to Marco Island. I've never met my realtor. I'm friends with her husband.
Yeah.
I've never met my property manager. None of that. We have a property manager that takes care of it, and it's rented out. We do short-term rentals through it.
Like Airbnbs, VRBO, things like that?
Yep. It's cash flowed every month, except one.
Yep.
Because we took it offline to do some renovations to it. And it's appreciated 45% in the last year.
Incredible. How long have you had it?
A year and a half.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Good time.
Yeah, so it's almost, it's ridiculous. It's been incredible. Well, you say good timing, yet we closed on the house April, just after COVID started, which was when the governor of Florida said, we're not going to allow short-term rentals.
Right.
And so I reached out to my property manager and said, what do you guys want to do? And they said, let's update it. Let's freshen up the paint. Let's change some lighting fixtures. And I said, okay, well, we're not taking it offline. It can't go online yet. So let's spend this time freshening it up, so we're ready to go when the governor eventually lifts it.
Yep.
So
and then you're off and ready.
Yeah.
The Airbnbs and short-term rentals are the way to go right now. I know,
it's incredible.
I know a lot of people that are really, really doing incredibly well.
Yeah, you were sharing about your friend. Was it Waterville?
In Lincoln.
Lincoln.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
right.
He's done incredibly
It's
well.
incredible what's available.
Yep.
And now there are people that are offering almost syndication opportunities.
Yeah.
To be able to do that, so you're not buying the whole thing. My plan for years had been when the market shifts, let's buy some condos and things locally. I'm handy. I can do the work. My wife didn't want me to add one more thing onto my plate. So she said, "You want to invest in Marco Island? Great. You can't fix anything down there." So she was quickly on board with it. And like I said, we've never been.
Yeah. Well, smart. Your wife was smart in that.
Yes, she is.
And they always are, right? They're
without a doubt.
They think things through a little bit more sometimes, because that's the type of thing I would take on too, and I would just add on more, and
Yes.
they'll be like, "Whoa, what are you doing? You don't have the capacity to add on
Yep.
more."
Well, everything we say yes to means that we're saying no to something else.
Yep.
So you have to be intentional with, if I say yes to this, what am I going to take off my plate?
Yeah.
What am I willing to give up in order to this? Or do I have to say no to this?
Yeah, and that's a good topic to talk about too.
Yeah.
I'm 43 years old, and I'm finally starting to get good at saying no.
I'm 47.
You know
I
what
still
mean?
suck at it.
I'm like just starting to get good at it now.
Yeah.
Because it was getting to the point where it's causing me too much stress, because
Yes.
I would be committed to something every day of the week, multiple times, nights, mornings, meetings, like this, that, the other thing. And I got to a point where finally I was like, I have to say no to some of this stuff. It's okay to say no.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
And I think everybody needs to know that.
Because if you're not intentional about saying no to certain things, it means that by default you're saying no to your family.
Right. 100%.
And they take the brunt of our mistakes.
Yep. And you know what? I'd rather, especially with kids, right?
Yeah.
They are only going to be young for so long.
We only get one shot to be parents.
Right.
We get one shot at doing it right with them.
Yeah, and we need to be smart about what we're doing.
And intentional with it.
Yeah, and I need to continue to get better at that. You know what I mean? But it's been, I think for me, it's been, in trying to grow this business over the last 5-6 years,
Yep.
it's like I'd be going, trying to do more and keep it moving, right? That, I got so used to doing that even when it got to a point where everything's going very well,
Mm-hmm.
you know what I mean? I'm doing very well. I was still in that habit.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right. Of what's the next thing that I'm
finally
supposed to be
like, I
doing.
need to dial it back a little bit.
And that's, yes, having big goals, but also realizing when is enough enough?
Mm-hmm.
Where do you really want to be? What is so many people, and I'm sure you see this, you've got successful loan officers.
Yeah.
People that end up with lifestyle creep, that they make a little bit more money, they up their lifestyle. They make a little bit more money, they up their lifestyle. Where do you stop?
Right.
And that can be really challenging.
I think, well, maybe not for all people, but for some people, what's happened to me kind of is I kept doing that.
Yeah.
And then I got to the point where I don't even really care about it, much of the stuff anymore.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
It's fun at first.
Yeah, that's what it is.
And it wears off.
Yeah. It was like I had this really, nice sports car, right?
Yep.
And I loved it for a while, and then I didn't drive it for a year. You know what I mean? I was like,
it had run its course.
I'm just so
It's
over
time to move it
I
on.
don't even care anymore.
Yeah,
I drive a pickup truck. You know what I mean? I don't care. And I think sometimes people, to realize that, they need to get there.
Yes,
right?
they do.
And then be like, all right, well, I'm okay. You know what I mean? You don't need all that stuff.
Well, and that's why. So we can't. It's really hard to teach people that.
Yeah.
So living by example.
Yeah.
And that idea of, you were talking about goal setting and getting to the daily tasks, and I think even after that, the next big thing is the accountability.
Yeah.
Are you willing to have someone hold you accountable? To say, are you willing to have your wife say, honey, are you sure you want to say yes to that?
Absolutely.
And that's a beautiful thing when we have that, because marriage is partnership.
Yep.
So making sure that our spouse, our significant other, is willing to call us out when we're going down the wrong path. And I'm still learning, and we're always learning, right? There are moments when I say, okay, do I have too much going on? And I'll ask her straight out, is our life too busy right now? Is this just a season? Are you good understanding that this is one of the craziest weeks we've ever had?
Yeah.
It's just nutty. Between extra travel for a crazy deal that that we struggle to hold together. Our son in driver's ed 3 nights a week. We've got a Boy Scout camping event coming up. Like, this is just that perfect storm of everything's crazy. And so get up in the morning. Okay, are you okay? Do we need to adjust, or are we good?
Yeah.
And being intentional with and willing to ask the questions.
Yeah, I mean, that's partnership anyway, and accountability.
Yeah.
Right? Like, we need to, whether it's with how busy we are or how we're acting or whatever it is, you know. And I think you both of you, like myself and my wife, we're very good at calling each other out on
love
things.
that.
And then the other person's like, "You're right." You know what I mean? Like 2 nights ago, she said to me, I was like grouchy about like nothing. You know what I mean? And she's like, "What is your problem?" She's like, "Why are you acting like that?" And I'm like, I don't know.
See,
it's like stupid. You know what I mean? Like
my wife sees my mood change and she's like, "Do you have a migraine coming on? Can I go get you an Excedrin?"
Right.
I'm like, "You're seeing it. I'm not. I'll take an Excedrin. Whatever. Let's try it." But we have to be willing to give our spouses permission. We have to have permission to be able to call them out as well. And we both have to be willing to receive it.
Yeah, and you have to be willing to work at it.
Yes.
You know, anybody that thinks like a happy marriage just happens without work is absolutely crazy. You know? It's like you always need to be trying to be better, be more thoughtful of the other person. Think about what they need. And same thing as we were talking about, helping and serving other people.
Yes.
The same thing, if I'm treating you well, you'll treat me well. If I'm helping you, you'll help me. Like, that's just the way it goes.
And when it comes to our spouses, our goal should be to outgive our spouse,
right?
to outserve our spouse,
right?
So one of the best marriage/relationship pieces of advice I ever heard was from Bo Chansey at Manchester Christian, and he said, "The moment you think that marriage is a 50-50 proposition, it's going to fall apart. When you're expecting the other person to pull their own weight." No, it's how can I serve you? How can I love you more?
It's not a business deal.
Right, exactly. Exactly. And when you view it as business or as even for newlyweds coming out of college, a group project where you expect everyone to pull an equal amount. No, because there are going to be days that I can pull 80%, and there are going to be days that I can only pull 20%. And my wife always steps up to be that balance wherever I need it. And thankfully, it's rare that we both don't run into days where we can only give 20% apiece.
We don't for a reason. We don't for a reason.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because that's why we're together and we need each other. If she's having a bad day, I bring her up. If I'm having a bad day, she brings me up. If she's short fused with the kids, I'll jump in. If I'm short fused with the kids, she'll jump in. You know what I mean? The dog's driving me crazy. She'll take care of the dog. You know what I mean? Like, whatever it is.
Yep.
And that's what real partners do. And that's how you are successful. And I think that's something that even, it can kind of translate to other areas of life and business.
Sure,
too,
it
right?
does.
It's being thoughtful.
Yes.
Right? Not just living your life about just yourself. It's being thoughtful of the people you're working with.
Right.
How they're going to feel. Like on your side, in real estate, you know what I mean? Being thoughtful of what that seller's going to want, what that buyer wants. Also making everybody, bringing everybody together.
Right.
Like,
and understanding that people are making decisions. They're doing the best they can with where they're at in life.
Right.
So even if it might not seem logical, we do transactions all day, every day.
Yep.
No big deal. The average homeowner, it's every 7 to 10 years.
Right.
It's a really stressful time.
Mm-hmm.
And more so when you're dealing with widows or newlyweds, like so many factors that play into it. So even with you looking at your staff and saying, "Hey, that's not who I know Matt to be. That's uncharacteristic for him." To be able to care enough to say, "Hey, Matt, what's going on?
Right.
Let's go grab lunch today.
Right.
Let's just take a break."
Right. Right. And like you said, for those homeowners, it's emotional for them.
Incredibly.
It's their home. It's the biggest investment of their life. It's where their families grew up. It's where, it's an emotional thing. For us, it just becomes like a business deal. And sometimes we need to be aware of that. You know what I mean? And that's why people get so emotional. But at the same time, like, if everybody's working together, and that's where I see a lot of people in this business sometimes go sideways and cause problems because they're worried more about just themselves. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm always concerned with the whole transaction.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
The whole transaction.
Not here's my piece. My piece is done.
I don't care if the loan. You know what I mean? Like, whatever. You know what I mean? It's not about that. Like, if there's an underappraisal, right?
Yep.
Sometimes people start fighting about the underappraisal, right? It's like, how about we just talk about it, figure out if this is a good appraisal, if maybe we need to challenge the appraisal, if we need to, if the two sides just need to agree on something in the middle.
Yes.
Yep. Let's all compromise. Everybody has the same end goal in mind. We want this transaction to close.
And we have to keep bringing people back to that.
Right.
What is the end goal?
Yeah.
And working one-on-one when you're working with people doing goal setting.
Yeah.
Okay, well, it might seem like a big deal today, but in the grand scheme of things, how much does this impact your 5-year goal?
Yeah. Perspective.
Yes, that's the perfect word for it.
All about perspective.
Yes.
Like I've had some real estate agents over the years, like losing their minds over like if a deal can't close on Thursday, it has to close on Friday, right? Whether, a CD doesn't go out or something,
Yep. Yep.
And I'm like, listen, your family's still healthy, right? Everything's still okay?
We're all breathing.
You know what I mean? Like everything's all right.
I've never
left
a client homeless. You're not going to be my first. We're not going to do this.
Never happened. And then they're always like, yeah, you're right.
Yep.
Right. It's not a big deal.
Is it stressful? Sure. I was telling you before we started recording, I had this transaction that was just really challenging. My seller then needed to buy the next house, and so there were a lot of moving parts, and something that was supposed to happen Friday, he wasn't able to move in until yesterday at noon.
Wednesday.
Yeah. And thankfully he was flexible with it. The buyer of his property had already moved out of her apartment. They were staying in a hotel. So, okay, staying in a hotel is not ideal.
Right.
Yet it's an option.
Right. But not the end of the world.
Exactly.
Exactly.
It's a warm bed.
Nicaragua, homeless, living in a house with a dirt floor. You know what I mean? You just need to wait 5 days and stay in a hotel.
Exactly. Exactly. And we'll figure out the money.
Right.
You'll figure out how to pay for this. It's going to be fine.
Yeah. And I think that's a message that everybody, in every aspect of life should really think about. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Perspective and looking at things in the right way, and even for your own, sanity.
Yes.
Right? So
yes.
even if you're not worried about everybody else, worry about yourself in that way.
Right.
You're not going to mistreat yourself by causing yourself undue stress and anxiety.
No.
Because that's not good for yourself either.
Not at all. Not at all.
Christian, this has been a great conversation.
Oh, Mike,
what else?
love it.
What else do you want to tell people about yourself, your business, real estate, life? What do you got?
Oh my!
Words of wisdom from Christian.
Oh my! No pressure on that one. The Gary Keller's definition of wealth is having enough passive income to fund your life mission without having to work. And when you figure out what you're really after and you get that clear vision for it, anything you're after is possible within 5 years.
Yep.
There's a 5-year goal. I went from borrowing money from my parents to pay for my mortgage in 4.5 years having a net worth of $1 million. Had a vision, had the right support and encouragement around me, got on a path and was committed to that path, and have been blessed by it.
Yeah, and you look very happy too.
Oh my gosh, this is me all the time.
I know.
I love my life. I love the people that I get to do life with. When you and I met for that class, there was just, you've got this fantastic energy, and you saw I'm the guy who sits in the front row.
Yep.
And I'm going to engage with the instructor.
Well, I felt the same way about you. I said because Angelina put the class together, and I said to her after, I'm like, we got to hook up with Christian. I'm like, I like his attitude. I like what he brought, how he was in it, and that's what I enjoyed.
Hey, I'll come be a front row plant for your next class.
You should.
We'll just come hang out.
You got the class really moving, so that's great. Christian, where can people find you? Instagram, Facebook?
Facebook.
Okay.
Christian Scott. Yep. Or christianscott@kw.com for my email.
Awesome.
I'll throw a cell phone. Here we go. 603-560-5318.
Nice.
You
now
feel
everybody's
free to
going to
call
be
me.
blowing you up.
I would love to. I would love to talk life, talk investing, talk real estate.
Yeah.
Whatever. How can my motto has always been, how can I serve you?
I love it.
That's what we get to do.
Well, we're going to blast your info all over the internet. So
love it, man.
Everybody's going to be calling you. Thank you so much.
Whoa,
thank
here we
you so
go.
much for being on.
It's been such a pleasure.
It was a
Thank
lot
you
of
so
fun.
much.
Let's keep this going.
Let's do it
Thanks,
again.
guys.
The mic drop.
Subscribe to success.